The special election for Georgia's 6th district is already the most expensive House race in US history, which I'm sure Michael Shure will appreciate as a devotee of political history in America. The most expensive ever, over $50 million in outside, largely unknown, unaccounted for money being spent on this special election. But it's also starting to look like potentially one of the dirtiest, because in the closing day of the race, just a day before the actual voting happens, although much early voting has already happened, an outside group has released an ad trying to link Jon Ossoff, the Democrat, to the recent shooting in Virginia. Let's watch.
Now the unhinged left is endorsing and applauding shooting Republicans. When will it stop? It won't if Jon Ossoff wins on Tuesday, because the same unhinged leftists cheering last week's shooting are all backing Jon Ossoff. And if he wins, they win. Stop them. Stop them now. Stop Jon Ossoff. Stop Nancy Pelosi. Vote Karen Handel for Congress. Vote Principled PAC paid for this ad and is solely responsible for its content.
Wow.
Their messages are so in your face.
Did anybody honestly see anybody applauding this shooting?
I don't know who that, so they showed some tweets.
Yeah.
I could only see one full name. I don't know who it was, but they weren't even verified. They found a person on Twitter.
Who said that
like a
Steve Scalise is an ass or something?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there's someone who made inappropriate comments.
Right.
Because it's Twitter.
And you can think Steve Scalise is an ass while at the same time hoping he gets better and think it's just fucking awful that he was shot and that this happened. And I can't get over this ad. I can't get over the way also that people are saying that this, the notion that there are people that are opposed to this president and what he wants to do means that that's an extreme position, and they're trying to paint people
as they're part of the unhinged left.
The unhinged left, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's always like every time a shooting like this happens, any kind of attack or something, a lot of people try to grasp onto the narrative they like, and they show how this backs up what they've been saying all along. Which is disgusting, but it's almost even worse when someone sees a new opportunity and tries to get something out of it, where they now think, oh my God, we can smear any resistance to the president. It's all the same as shooting Congress people, as if this isn't the same party that said initially that their main job in office was to make Barack Obama lose, to make sure that he doesn't accomplish anything.
Put targets on posters for other opponents.
And look, there's a lot of people in America who are constantly shouting about watering the tree of liberty and how our country was founded on being willing to shoot down tyrannical government operatives. Not a lot of them are hippies. Not a lot of them are involved in drum circles. They subscribe to a political point of view. Ain't necessarily Bernie Sanders most of the time.
One thing that I picked up on there, it was, and I think maybe the three of us talked about it last week, but Nancy Pelosi, using Nancy Pelosi in an ad like this. Of course, it's a House race. They're going to talk about Nancy Pelosi, giving her more power by giving another vote in Congress to her. But I talked to a congressman off the record when I was in Washington last, who said one of the big challenges for the Democrats is going to be, if it looks like in 2018 they can almost win the House, that they're close. There may be 10 seats that are in play, to get Nancy Pelosi to come out and say, I'm not going to run for Speaker. Because then you take away what is a very effective boogeyman for that side, a very effective weapon for the other side. Well, she's not going to be in power. She's going to be a member of the House, or she's going to retire, one of the other. He didn't say. He said it's going to be tough to do. I mean, somebody's going to have to be at that point chosen to whisper into her ear, "Hey, Nancy, I think we could win the House if you say that you're not going to stand for Speaker."
You better get somebody else to whisper in the other ear while that person's whispering in the one ear. I think that's a real tall order, but it's a genius move, because as Michael says, you take that off the table and all of a sudden you really have a shot.
Because what she really is has been bastardized at this point, to the point of no return. I mean, she's still, you could get into arguments about healthcare and single payer. She's in the leadership. If she were a member of Congress, she'd be in a very different position other than being the leader. But that they've turned her irreversibly into something that she can't get away from, and we saw it in a national campaign with Hillary Clinton last year. And you see that with different people.
Agreed. She's part of old Washington institutional corporate politics. She can't get that stink off her.
And they also have this idea, like, I would love for her to be as far loony left as they pitch her as being, and she is on some issues. Like
and she was more so before she was a leader. When she was a member of Congress, she and Barbara Boxer came to the House together. They were the same type of very, very liberal. Then she got into leadership, and your roles are different. You're keeping a coalition together.
Yeah, and so I'm glad that you brought that up. I mean, it definitely seems like Republicans are able to make these ideas sort of not even necessarily rooted in policy, just these visceral, like you see the face and the name and you just don't like, I'm not saying me personally, I'm saying a lot of people. And here's one of the terrible things about American politics. It seems to work better against women.
That's
They're
so
very
true.
good at driving hatred and resentment towards female politicians.
The other, women
so
are
Elizabeth Warren should watch her ass.
I think women who are politicians are at a disadvantage too. You watch that spot, and as I said, just the messages in your face. It's almost this pugilistic kind of political ad. And when you're a woman, you're called upon to be all these things, strong but not overbearing to any extreme level. I'm talking about when you're trying to win political favor. I think women who are in politics are in a very difficult position often in terms of fighting sort of in a bare knuckles way to make various points.
Yeah, similar to being in business or something like that.
Exactly.
Like, the expectations are difficult.
And going to what you guys just said about women too, a lot of congressional ads, they're doing it in South Carolina, they did it in Montana where they just had that race, are using Pelosi and Sanders.
Yeah.
They decidedly didn't use him in Georgia where his message may be resonating with more Democrats who are coming out.
Whereas he's apparently stumping now.
And yeah, exactly. And I think that's an important thing too. I mean, they didn't use the man. They used Kathy Griffin and Nancy Pelosi. So.
Yeah. I would say after what Kathy Griffin did, they gotta get her out of the House leadership. I mean, it's inappropriate at this point. She's too controversial.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's break down the reaction to this. So the terrible ad comes out linking him to the shooting, or at least attempting to. Ossoff puts out a statement saying the man is fighting for his life, referring to Scalise. I think it's disgraceful to politicize it, and I think Secretary Handel should call for it to come down. A spokesperson for Handel said, for any group to use the shootings this week for political or personal benefit is shameful. But there are some people who are happy about this. This is Brad Carver, GOP chairman for Georgia's 11th congressional district, who says, I'll tell you what, I think the shooting is gonna win this election for us because moderates and independents in this district are tired of left-wing extremism. I get that there's extremists on both sides, but we are not seeing them. Oh, yeah, I think you're not choosing to see them then, perhaps.
He goes on, John, to say we're seeing absolute resistance to everything this president does.
That's sort of what I was referring to before.
Unlike Barack Obama.
Unlike Barack Obama. I'm sure Brad Carver was just cursing Mitch McConnell's name when he said we're going to be the party of no.
I'm just not seeing it.
Yeah, look that up. Google that for a while.
Yeah. And by the way, apparently voter interest in this race is much higher than in previous cycles. A lot of people have already voted early, but you still can vote tomorrow when the actual race happens. Let's bring this up. You're gonna see the two most recent polls from just the past couple of days. One with a narrow lead for the Republican, one with a narrow lead for the Democrat there. In the past 4 years, the district has moved slightly towards the Democrats, and the special elections so far this cycle have been towards the Democrats, which is a good sign, but there's a lot of money out there. This most recent ad theoretically could sway people. So if you can vote and choose not to, go right to hell. I'm joking, no, but I would prefer if you vote. Oh, also, at the last minute, Donald Trump sort of endorsed Handel, and he did so in the best way that he could. He tweeted a bunch of things about how passionate he is about her by never once saying anything positive about her, only attacking Jon Ossoff and spelling her name incorrectly. So he is very invested in this race.
Maybe he does stand for something after all.
Yeah,
and also keep in mind tomorrow there's another race in South Carolina. There's that's the race for was it Mick Mulvaney's seat there, who's and it's a farther apart race. There's not a lot of money going into it. Tim Ryan, the congressman from Ohio, who I will note has gone in to campaign for Archie Parnell, they're the Democrat, has also made 3 trips to Iowa. And so Tim Ryan, who ran against Nancy Pelosi as sort of as the fall guy for speaker, and has been a friend of this show for a long time, making little waves, and I think that he may run for president.
You don't like ads? Well, I hear you, brother. Did you know that you can become a Young Turks member, get the full 2-hour show every day on demand, plus so many other network shows, all ad-free for just $10 a month? Give it a shot right now. TYTnetwork.com/join.